Hi, in this video I'm going to talk about the economics for BAT exam. BAT is the Bloomberg assessment test, and I'm going to talk about some of the topics that you should know, and we'll discuss some of these areas in this video. So the Bloomberg assessment test, if you have 10 hours, then I would say that invest 50% of that time in CFA level 1 and level 2 economics, 40% on understanding how Fed is behaving these days, how the decision of Fed are changing the pricing of financial instruments as they changes the expectation, they change the interest rate, they change the unemployment, they change the decisions of Federal Reserve, changes the consumer demand and things like that. And 10% focus on the chart of the day that is released by Bloomberg.com. So that's how you can distribute your preparation. Now on the right side of my slide I am listing some of the topics here. So the core and the heart of the economics is to understand how the central bank behaves and how moves of central bank causes a change in pricing of various financial instruments, and that's a part of the financial markets in the exam as well. And for that you need to understand the functioning of central bank and the history of Federal Reserve. Now there are some videos on the history of Federal Reserve that you can check out, but it's more about controlling the money in the system. So there are three balancing aspects that the Fed wants to balance out, because if the Fed goes in either direction to control the unemployment rate, if the Fed tries to decrease the interest rate, it may cause an inflation. So the Fed wants to balance all these three aspects, but what actually happens is that if you are a financial engineer, or if you understand things like forward currency bias indexes or some other indexes which are based on some of the arbitrage theories, then you can actually bet that some of the things that we believe should happen in the future will not happen. I'll talk about this forward currency bias index in some time. So basically, to understand the role of central bank, its primary goal is to keep unemployment at minimum, keep GDP positive. How it does that? It does that by manipulating interest rate, by doing open market operation, by doing something what's called the quantitative easing. And the Federal did a quantitative easing in, I think, the last 6 months, which is known as an Operation Twist, where it was buying the treasury bond and releasing the money. The Fed can also give loans to the other banks at some interest rate to reduce the interest rate, or it have other measures to play around with the interest rate. So the Fed has been behaving in two different modes from 2003 to 2008, when there was a bubble kind of a situation. The Fed was trying to increase the interest rate, and now the Fed has kept the interest rate to very low, which is very minimal. So that's how the Federal Reserve has behaved. So most important for the exam is to understand news of Federal Reserve and how it affects the financial instrument. Then we have some of the ways of quantitative easing. This QE stands for quantitative easing of the ECB, which is a little different from Federal Reserve, because it tries to absorb the extra money which is circulated to control the inflation. So many people say that it's not the very right way, but what's happening by unsterilized quantitative easing is causing global inflation. So some people say it's a currency war, but what's actually happening is that if the Federal Reserve is continuously doing quantitative easing, it's actually making dollar weak, but that's affecting the exports of other countries. So by doing that, they are making their own exports more competitive by making the dollar weak, which is an effect of quantitative easing. So that is what China has been doing from some time, and the China has played around with yuan. They have tried to keep yuan at a fixed rate and have not let the market mechanism decide the right pricing for the yuan. And China is also having the largest reserve of US Treasury bonds. So I think it's 2 or 3 trillion US treasury bond that they have, which they got from the trade surplus. Oops, sorry about that. Okay, then we have this forward currency bias index. Now, based on the theories which exist in the economics, there is something called uh, how would the currency forward be based on the current interest rate of two countries. So for example, if in India you see from 2010 to 2008 the exchange rate was very near to 45, so it was not going according to the inflation, which is one theory in CFA level 2 economics. You can read that or in other books. And the other is the interest rate in two countries. So ideally India has more inflation, so Indian currency should have weakened. India has more interest rate, so Indian currency should have weakened, but it did not happen. It was nearly 45. Why did that happen? Because India was opening down some of its sector for foreign investment like retail, banking and so on. So economic theories might suggest something which was not happening. So if you believe that is the case, then you can buy this forward forward rate bias index, which says that the currency is going to remain the same, so you can still earn by arbitrage. So that's one financial instrument which is linked to theories of economics, or which is refuting a theory and saying that okay, the theory might own in a standalone basis, but with the evolving dynamics these things will not affect. So I can still earn money by borrowing in US and investing in India, because I know that the exchange rate are not going to get affected. Something like that, which comes from the financial market side of the economics. So how global inflation is caused by Federal Reserve. There is one theory not given in the book so much, but which says that when US prints money, it weakens dollar. So suppose Indian currency is at 55, $1 for 55 rupees, it would go down to 50. To stop it from going further, now Indian government will print rupees, because it has got the power to print rupees and pump in the system, so that this does not goes beyond 50, otherwise it will affect their export. So this extra printing will cause inflation in India. So that's one way to look at it, although there are many effects. And what the exam would do is that give you a counter argument for this idea, or something like that, or something which happens in the real world but which you cannot link to just one theory in a standalone basis. Then you can get numericals on currency arbitrage, which is quite interesting. Now what it means is that if your currency goes weak against one currency, then it will go weak against all other currencies, because there would be an arbitrage where you can buy the same currency from others. So if if euro weakens and Indian currency goes strong, then the same effect would be there between the exchange rate of US dollar and Indian currency, because you can still exchange euro and USD, so the price would remain arbitrage free. Just have a look at some of the numericals on that. And then we have something which is more theoretical about the deadweight loss of various cases when a company tries to curb export and things like that. And then we have something called the J curve in the exchange theories, which says that if you try to weaken your currency, after some time it will get strong, because by weakening your currency your export would grow, and ultimately when your exports would grow you will be in a trade surplus and your currency would be going to be strengthened again. So that's one aspect about, I think it's the J curve, I'm not sure of, just check that out, but that's the phenomena that actually occurs. Alright, so these are some of the things that would help you in the exam. Now most of these things are based on news and not on the book, so what you see on the right hand side you'll not see on these books and the economic theories. So they'll talk about something that should happen, but that's not happening because of various other reasons. Alright, so that would do it for this video. You can email me at shivgantri@gmail.com. I also run a course on BAT, so you can join that course to learn more about these things and get more info on them. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you liked it. Just leave in your feedback and I'll try to upload more videos on the same. Thank you.